Hi. One thing that we haven't done yet is connect our application with a back end, and there's various ways you can do that. I'm just going to demonstrate a very simple one using Google's Firebase real-time database. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new directory. Let's actually name it something that's spelt properly. Let's just call it real-time DB, right? And we'll go there. Now, there's various things that you can do, but basically what you need to do is you need to go to console.firebase.google.com and create a new project, right? And this is CSC 2274 example again, right? Make that project, and you don't want any analytics, so just create the project, and that should eventually fire up. And then we're just going to use, there's lots of stuff in the Firebase. What I'm going to use is just the real-time database. It's a document database, that's not a relational database, and that can make life easier, right? So our project is ready, and there's our project. Now I'm just going to click on, we're going to make a web app, so I'm going to add a web app, and this is going to be CSC 2274 simple app. I don't want hosting, I'm just going to register the app like that, and hopefully that'll fire up. And there is something now. Unfortunately, we've got to use a combination of these two, and I'm not quite sure why, but I couldn't get it working any other way. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to install npm. Actually, let's try it without, just in case it will work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to open that directory. Let's just close that folder. I'm going to open the new folder in Visual Studio Code. So that's under my Git directory, and I just called it real-time DB. Right, so there's my folder, and yes, I'm trusting the authors, and I'm going to make a new file called script.js. Right, and there's a new file called script.js, and I probably want to add a little bit more to it, but let's just see how that works. And then I'm going to go index.html, and we want our doc type, right, and then we want HTML and the lang of English. Right, and then we'll include, now I have to make this a type of module, otherwise it's not going to work, and the source is script.js. Okay, so that should be a starting point. Now I don't think this is going to work, but let's try it out. I'm just going to serve that out with live server, and let's see. It's not giving any errors, so that's a good thing. Now it's not going to do anything, right? So let's make it do something, and there's a couple of things I need to do, and one of them is I need, instead of well, let's just try that again, see if that does something similar. Yeah, this is the error I was getting. There's a bare specifier. So what I found I had to do is I had to, instead of just using that code directly, I had to replace this with the G-static version, right? And it's basically the same, except we've got Firebase -app instead of Firebase /app, and that should give us less of an error. Yeah, there we go. We've got less of an error now. Now, like I said, I also need to access more of the database. So what I'm going to do is, as well as importing the Firebase app, I'm going to import Firebase database pieces as well. Okay, so that's why I'm doing that. And then the app is initialized. And what I can do, I'm just going to paste this. So that's the original. And then in order to get access to the database, I need to pass the app in to the call to get database. Then on the next line here, I'm just going to generate a random ID for a user, and I'm going to set the random ID. Hold it, I shouldn't have done that. I don't know what I did there. That is incredibly bad. It looks like I grabbed too much stuff. So let's not grab all that stuff. Get rid of that. And we don't want to do that twice. So let's do that. That's better. Right, and this is going to set the database, and then what I want to do is over here I want to put in a heading, right, and I'm going to say that this is my heading, and I'm just going to say empty for the start, and then when I get my user back from the database, I'm going to let heading equal document.get element by ID, and my ID was heading, right? And then I'm just going to say heading dot inner text equals the data I got back, and remember we're going to get a name field, and then I'm just going to put some random text in there, and then I'm going to get the date of birth as well, right? So now what should happen, well, let's not make this random. Let's just make it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right. So we don't know, and then we can put ID here. And we want plus. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to comment that part out first, and let's see what happens. Right, so if we load it up, it just says empty, and it looks like I've got some error in my configuration. That's interesting. I wonder how I did that. Let's go back here. Right, so there's my app. And let's have a look at the settings. It should be all right. Let's go back here. Okay, and let's try and actually let's see whether anything got written to the database. Right, here's my example again, and my real-time database is the one I want. Oh, I didn't create the database, so I've got to create it first. Right, and I've got to set up the database, and I'm going to make it start in test mode so that I don't have to worry about security. You should worry about security. Okay, so there is my test database. Let's just see if we get that error now. And now we don't get the error. And look, I've added the database with user to the database with ID 123456 and date of birth and name of Peter. Right, so now let's uncomment that other stuff out. And what should happen, right, so if we can read back that information. And if I do that, now I can grab that information out of the database and I can set the field. Okay, so that is a really, really, really quick overview of how to set up the real-time database and use it. Right, the writing of the database just uses the set method, and the reading of the database just uses the onValue method. And that's about all there is to it. It's a little tricky because you do have to use these URLs instead of what the console tells you to use. But yeah, it seems to hang together pretty nicely. Anyway, if you want to use that for the last assignment, that would be good. I realize it's very late, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the last assignment extra credit. So if you want to try it, go right ahead, see if you can do it. I will make my code that I just wrote available for you so you can have a look at it.